Warning, this podcast typically features spoilers and strong opinions. Proceed with caution. Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Grooms, One Plot, the podcast where two lifelong storytellers who are married talk about stories. I'm Pavi Proczko, audiobook narrator, author, etc.
And I'm Colin Funk, childhood development expert and teaching artist.
And today we're doing a very special series. We're going to do episode 2 of Mary and George. So we're going to be doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So episode 2. Now, for the sake of brevity and all of our minds, we're going to skip our moment of the week.
Yes.
And we're just going to move into our switch hit synopsis.
Let's do it. So
we've got episode 2 of Mary and George on Starz. It is called The Hunt.
The Hunt.
And so we've left off in the first episode. We've left off with George and Mary trying to like get in with King James, the gay Scottish king.
And he did.
And he did at the end. Yes.
Yes. So we've started there. The first episode was kind of complete. So now George is returning home for a visit, and his Mary informs him that like she's like, come hunting with me.
Yeah.
Just you though.
Right.
And shows him that his
brother
has killed a dog.
Killed a family servant's dog.
And they're like, okay, you have to shoot it and make it look like a hunting accident.
Yeah.
And they do. He does, and brings it to the servant lady, and she's like, that's not what happened.
I don't think that's what happened. Yeah.
It was John. It's fine. I won't tell anyone, but like,
right.
that's not what happened.
Right. And then meanwhile, we've got Mary's also doing deals with Sir David, who's like the one English guy on the retinue,
because he doesn't like
any of the Scotsmen, but especially Somerset. And so she meets him at this brothel where she meets this like Irish girl,
the prostitute. Yes.
Who's like giving her tips and is like, I've seen someone with like dark in their eyes. Don't eat the prunes. I see that you need things. And so she's like using this brothel as a meeting space, trying to like get a meeting with the queen, because the queen also doesn't like Somerset. So she's trying to like get George in.
So this guy gets her a little tete-a-tete.
Yes.
With the queen.
And
the queen is like, I'm ready for Somerset to be pushed out.
Yeah.
You sure we can trust your boy? You can control him? She's like, yeah. Let's do it. And so the queen makes it so that George can dance.
Yes. Because apparently he's a dancer. He's like known for his dancing.
He learned in France.
Yeah, he learned in France how to dance at his little gay house.
So gay.
It's so gay. So then he dances for the king, and then they get like shuttled off to some private meeting where she's like, knight him. I'm like, is that how that works? They're just like, you need a new knight for your bedroom. And so he like knights George, because in order to sleep with someone, you need to like knight him. It's so weird. I don't know.
It's who knows.
And
it's
Somerset,
just the pomp and circumstance.
Yes,
of it all.
Truly. And Somerset is furious.
Yeah, he's really mad.
Yeah, and then Mary gets with her Irish girl.
Yeah, after being like, I don't need any help from you, prostitute. She like goes and
she's like, I'll take you up on your offer. So then, so we remember from like episode 1, there was that lawyer that was like, hey, you run out of money, you need to marry someone. Well, this same lawyer is the one that has like this secret about Mary, and apparently he's been robbed.
Well, he's been roughed up.
He's been roughed up. His fingers all swollen, and he's like,
someone came and beat me up for your information.
Yes, and so
I told them.
Yeah, you find out who it was. It was apparently Well, I guess you find out a little bit later. We'll get there.
Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of. So
Yeah, we don't
she's
find
like,
out that
oh
episode
shit,
who it
my
was.
secret's out. And so Mary has to like figure out what to do now.
Mm-hmm.
So then meanwhile, we've got George at the hunt. There's like this hunt that they go on.
Yes.
It's his first hunt.
Now the king and all of his little minions are going on this hunt together.
Yeah. And we find out that it's like some previous like pretty boy was like killed accidentally, quote unquote. And so there's, you know, they're competing to get this stag, and Summer, like they all go into the forest, and Somerset comes upon George. They're like chasing it down, and then he like throws him off his horse, and George gets injured, knocked out. And when he comes to, the king has come to his rescue. Mm-hmm. And of course, the king is like, seems to like an underdog.
Yes.
And so he like brings George with him, and feels bad for him, and kind of seems to know that Somerset did it.
This is just a synopsis. Let's keep
But
going.
ends up giving George he lets George get
the killing blow
as a symbolic gesture that like he's rising in the ranks. And then you find out like Mary like meets up with Sir David one more time, the one that's been helping her try to get George in there.
Yes.
And Sir David and his like lackey
Yeah.
are eating the prunes, which they've been told not to eat, or she's been told not to eat by the Irish girl, who apparently you find out now has helped her poison them, because they find out that David and his lackey are the ones that like tried to get the stuff.
The prunes are always poisoned.
Yeah, the prunes are always poisoned.
The prunes are always poisoned. They can just like up the dose when they need to. Mary clearly knew that
David was the one to order this.
And so they had plotted and poisoned the prunes apparently, because they, in this like meeting that they're having where David's like, hey, I looked up on you. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And she's like, well.
Yeah. I have some information and it's not good. You don't have any pedigree. And so George is like not a great fit for this. Well, Sir David dies.
Yes. But his henchman doesn't.
Lackey does not die. And at the very end,
brings all the information that he has to some person that we don't know yet.
Yes. Some very fancy person with a beard. It's like, ooh.
But that is the end.
That is the end of and George and the king fuck hard.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They have very hard sex.
Yes.
Help me forget who I am. Something like that.
Oh God. Horrible.
And so that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Such intrigue. Oh, we also meet the Koch family.
Intrigue. Yeah, we can. Yeah.
We meet the Koch family during this episode too, where it's like, because the whole thing with his brother is like, shit, he killed this dog and we really don't know why, and he's kind of a loose cannon.
Yeah. He's a little bit.
We're trying to like get him married off to someone.
He's the oldest.
He
needs to get married first.
Right. And they're trying to like marry him to Frances Koch.
Yes.
But the complication is that Lady Hatton, the mother of Frances, has her own money, and she kind of like pulls the reins.
And so they have this meeting, and she's like, I talked to this guy. He's totally into this marriage. They walk in, and immediately we find out that Lady Hatton, who has her own money, is like, no, I'm not into this.
Absolutely.
And I control the situation. So bye.
Yes.
This is not happening. This is fun to be here.
Yes.
You guys are terrible.
She is such a badass too.
That scene is
It's so
excellent.
good.
Like, we would start there. Like that's
Yeah.
I feel like that is like we're seeing this new conflict.
Yeah, these new
arise.
avenues of conflict. Like we're seeing the other conflicts coming in, where it's like we've got
Right.
like the first episode is very much like we're really just setting the stage.
Yes.
Now we're going to see how hard it's going to be, where we have really kind of we're going to see how Somerset's really going to be a big problem for George. Hatton's going to be a really big problem for Mary.
Right. And just the fact that she doesn't have great pedigree. Mm-hmm. That's a big problem. And it sets up all the problems she's going to have even with her alliances.
Right.
So she's starting to find cracks even in her alliances. Mm-hmm. And how willing she is to kind of tear through them.
Right. So I really love that scene at the dinner.
The scene with the dinner is incredible.
It is so good. And she just like, there's something about like that actress. We should look up who it is. But
I meant to look up her name. I'll look it up now.
She just like commands the room. Like it's in her eyes. She's like so intense, and she's got this great outfit, and to be able to like just hold your own against Julianne Moore on the screen and really like, God, she's just like so, her diction
Nicola Walker.
Oh, so good. Nicole. Yeah. Just like the diction is like perfect. And there's something about, we've talked about this for the first episode too, the kind of the anachronistic, maybe like updating of the language. There's something like,
it's not fully
no,
there.
but there's like a lot of swearing, and I just like, it's kind of thrilling to like watch these like really hoity-toity people just kind of like let loose and swear.
But I don't think it's like the swearing itself that is anachronistic. I think maybe it's the choice of the words.
Yeah, perhaps.
You know what I mean? I don't think I think they did use colorful language.
Yeah, probably. They weren't just
Especially-
genteel all the time.
No, of course not. Especially in like private quarters or like whispering on the sides of public places even. But like, because they were not afraid of people recording them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's not like this, like somebody's watching me, somebody's going to write a newspaper article, somebody's going to post a video of me doing these things. It doesn't matter. You can drop the pretense because no one's going to believe you.
Right. You can paint the story however you want.
Exactly.
Now, I do have a question about that scene.
Yes.
Why do you think they came to the dinner at all if it was going to be such an immediate no?
I think duty. I think the part of it is the husband. Who is the husband? What's his?
He's Coke. He's Sir Edward Coke.
I don't know.
I don't remember. Coke.
I don't remember. But he's the big judge.
Mm-hmm.
He's the, what is that?
The general counsel or something like that, or he's not the DA kind of. He's like the he's on the council.
He's a judge. That's
right.
But yes, so I think there is like they did have an understanding. Like him and Mary have decided to do this thing, and I think just like we see with a lot of it, there is a lot of like, we have to do this because this is custom.
Yeah.
This is like, we just have to go and meet them, and I'll say no.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And maybe she wanted to come and be like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I was thinking about
You were talking to my husband. You have to know that he's not in charge here.
Right. That there's something even more insulting. Like you can really like flex that
into
muscle.
Your home and
I'm going to
telling you
swear at you
all of the things
that are terrible about you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, she goes in. Yeah. She's like, this child is terrible. This child is violent. This child is boring.
This child is a sodomite.
And you're nothing.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Where am I wrong?
Right.
Show me where I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like,
and like even her husband is like so surprised by it.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I cannot apologize enough. No,
you can't.
You cannot.
Oh, that's very funny.
It really is. It feels like a power move in that case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because she's a power player. I mean, like, it's very clear that she She's in control.
Yeah.
I mean, it continues to show. I mean, that's another thing that this episode really emphasized for me is that, like, yeah, that there are men doing things here and there, but like these women are really not just wilting flower, nothing.
Yeah.
Because even like we look at the servant whose dog dies.
Right.
Like George comes up to her.
Yeah.
And is like, I shot your dog by accident. And she's like, don't piss up my back and tell me that it's raining.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
I have seen way too much to take your lie.
Like, don't give me that. I'm not stupid.
Right.
You shot him after, like, this is not what a wound looks like
right.
when they're alive. Like, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I won't tell anyone. I'm just like, that's not but like treat me like a human.
Right.
And I just like really appreciated that.
Yeah.
There's no like,
oh, like just like taking it.
Yeah.
She's like, no, come on. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to say what you told me because you're the Lord of the house. But like,
even the queen has a lot of power.
she does. Yeah.
She comes in and uses her power because she doesn't like Somerset. She's doing what she can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that scene between them where essentially the queen cared about, like, is your son obedient to you?
Right.
To Mary?
Yes. He's under my control.
Yes.
I think that's so interesting too. I noticed that too. Cause it's like, we have this conception that it was such like a male dominated world and in some ways it was, but it was not just, right? It's like they had just had Queen Elizabeth, very recently before that. The previous monarch was Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch to that point, and for many years after.
Yeah.
So it's not just, as you said, not just a bunch of wilting flowers that are just letting people like walk all over them.
Right.
It's they are moving the pieces just as much as anybody else is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in some cases more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting that she creates this relationship with this prostitute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where there's like another like alliance of women watching out for women, and
right.
Just like another element of that kind of female power.
Yeah, being able to kind of have someone who can like walk through the shadows a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Helping her do this assassination.
Right.
I also did think it was interesting. I'm wondering where that's going to go. The John, the oldest brother.
Yeah.
Like he ends up like after the dinner kind of falls apart. Everybody leaves and John stays at the table.
Yeah.
And then he confesses to the servant whose dog he murdered.
The servant. That's right.
That he's like, I'm sorry, we were playing and he just got so loud and I just wanted him to be quiet. And he stopped moving. It's like really like eerie. I'm like, what is wrong with him? It was very strange.
I mean, he's not
with it.
He's not with it.
Yeah.
He's got issues, and this was way before they treated mental health at all.
Yep.
Like,
he was the oldest, so he had to be the oldest.
Yeah.
Oh man. And it's so sad because it's like, then she's just like, well, thanks for saying that. Yeah. I know you didn't do it on purpose.
Right. We know that it's not. I mean, that's the whole tragic part of that character is he's not like trying to do anything. He's clearly not like intentionally violent.
Right. Right. There's like that, maybe you sent it to me. There's some video about like reactions where it's like if you are having like an emotional reaction, then you can like adjust it. Like as a child, for example, it's like you can, it's a behavioral thing. But if you're actually having if your reaction is like more like a reflex, if it's like, some conditions and some, then that your reactions like end up looking like emotional kind of outbursts, but they're like reflexes. That it's like that's not a behavioral thing. So if you're like end up like punishing someone for that, they end up not being able to, like you're punishing them for like, startling, it's like, it's not
right.
I think there's something
I think
there.
like it's common, like when kids are biting, that's a very common, like kids aren't like doing that on purpose,
Right.
We should like curb that, but it is like it's like a reflex. And it is, I don't know, it has to be, you just have to be really careful and not like, I don't know, stigmatize that necessarily. But like it's not like, not to say like those kinds of behaviors shouldn't be like taken very seriously.
Of course, yeah. It just, I think it just emphasizes the tragedy of the condition, right? Where it's like, it's not just like someone who's like, they're just like asocial because they just like don't wanna, he can't control, he's got something.
He's going like having this response to this overstimulating experience, the dog barking too much or whatever it was, and him just like having this kind of like blackout moment and just like doing whatever he could to get the dog to stop and not, not really, he's not using his executive functioning anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just like those kinds of conditions like shut off. I mean, we all lose executive function when we get overstimulated,
right?
But not completely. We don't like fully lose it,
right?
Some conditions like really force you, like really you do. Mm-hmm. You go into your primal reactive state,
right? And
those conditions can be, they can be very dangerous and very scary because of that,
right?
But it's not. It's not a behavioral intentional thing. It's not we can coach this person
right
on the others. There's nothing we can do necessarily.
Just kind of like avoid that kind of overstimulation as much as you can, because there's nothing you can really do about it.
Find some way to channel it into something else.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what.
Yeah, strangle the pillow, not the dog.
Sure.
I don't know. There was one other thing I wanted to mention about this episode too. Oh, it was I love watching Mary struggling in these moments where it's like she seems to be playing this like 4-dimensional chess, but it's very clear that she's a beginner. She's sick of waiting. And so she's like, I'm gonna do this thing, but she doesn't really know what she's doing.
Right.
And you can see this happen like in one moment when she's talking with the queen, and the queen's like, she's like, oh, it's my honor to see you. And the queen like cuts her off, and I was like, do you know how many compliments I get? Enough compliments? And she's like, she asks, are you nervous?
She's sufficiently
She's like,
so.
sufficiently so. And she's just like, it's so interesting to have that kind of like that honesty, that admission, where it's not just like someone who's like a Machiavellian kind of like mastermind who's she's not pretending like she knows what she's doing. She's
got flaws. I mean,
and she's totally honest about them.
I don't know what totally honest about
well,
them.
Perhaps not, but especially when it suits her to be like, oh yeah, I'm pretty nervous. I don't actually know what I'm doing here.
I think that is a skill that she has. She knows not to lie when something is obvious.
Yeah.
I think that is a very good skill to have.
Yeah.
Because the second that someone is like, are you nervous? And you're like, no, then you're like, can't trust you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that like, I think to your point, I think that is one of the things that really is it's a superpower.
Yeah.
That she can see the things where it's like, well, she's asking me this because I'm clearly nervous. And it's okay for me to be nervous talking to a queen.
Right.
Like for her to be able to process, like to just know when it's okay to just like tell the truth.
Yeah.
I think it allows people to trust her at least a little bit.
Right.
Because she's so candid.
Right.
Even that first episode, just like walking up to that new husband and being like,
here's
the deal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to pretend that this is for anything other than like, this is just a good situation between us.
Right.
I'm not trying to like woo you or pretend anything else is going on.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be happy about this.
Right.
And to fulfill this duty and to fulfill this role for you.
Right. Yeah. Come, let us live, she says.
It's just, yes, she knows. She has a very good like awareness of when these situations necessitate being honest, because otherwise people will read through it.
Right.
It's that like the best way to lie is to tell like 75% of the truth. Like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of it's the truth. You sneak the lie onto it. It's much easier to get the lie through.
Right. Yeah. Then there's the second part that I was going to mention was when she murders David, Sir David, or tries to murder the other guy. And she's like actually shaken by what she's done. She's like freaked out by the fact that she's like done this thing.
Right.
I think
so
that's so interesting.
Whatever her name, we should use her name.
Oh God. Does she have one? I don't even remember.
We should look. I guess I can look. But she asks, she's like, "Are you okay? Have you seen people die before?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw my husband
die.
die."
Yeah, that first husband died. Yeah. So interesting. This vulnerability and power of the women in this world.
Yeah,
really
they're not meant
highlighted.
to be super heroes,
right?
But they are extraordinary.
Yeah,
and they are in a little bit of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shall we give it a rating?
Sandy.
That's weird. I wonder if we know that.
Maybe not.
Do you want to do ratings? You want to rate it?
We don't rate.
No ratings. We're not rating. We're not.
Wait till the end.
We're going to wait till the end of the series to rate. Okay, but we can do a superlative.
Yeah, we'll do superlatives.
We'll do superlatives.
So we'll do Oscar moment.
Oscar moment.
I mean, I think that the dinner. I think like Lady Hatton really like that surprise when she's like, absolutely not. You're horrible. You're horrible. You're horrible. We're going to go. Thanks for having us. It just is so powerful. And it's so shocking that I will remember that.
Yes.
Forever.
It's such a good, it's like very Mean Girl moment. It's like it's so good.
Yeah.
I agree. That is also my moment.
Great.
Now,
I guess like if that's going to be your moment, I do like the servant moment. That was another really strong moment for me that I brought up. The servant having
don't piss up my back and tell me it's raining,
because it just like took me. I was just like, oh, we're not just like walking over people, and it's not just about like lying and scheming. Like people know what's going on. People aren't stupid, and they're giving women a lot of power in this world. And I thought it was a strong moment of storytelling in many ways.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Thank you for relinquishing your Oscar moment
Even
to me.
Though I
that's what I was going to say. What about unearned moment?
Unearned moment.
There's this moment right before they go on the hunt, and they're like having dinner like in this tent, and they're talking about like eating, and it's like, oh, don't eat too much or your horse is gonna like buck you off, like Somerset's saying. It's like, oh, you're gonna be so heavy. And then George is like, well, younger people can eat without getting bloating. Aren't you finding that as you get older? And then Somerset like gets up and is gonna like beat him up, and I just like I don't know if I buy so much that he's like would be that like so mad that he would like get up to try to beat him up. I
guess, but it's like that. Like nobody talks badly to me. I'm the king's right hand man. Like no one does that.
Yeah.
The king's going to allow, and he's threatened by George generally. And
Sure.
it feels like just like in the first episode where the king was like, yeah, George defended himself. I'm not mad that he started a fight.
Yeah.
Big whoop.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like that is something that happens where it's like, it doesn't have to be that big of a...
I guess like I just find tripping to be a little bit more, I don't know. It just didn't strike me as something that
they're both like trying to like
Sure.
undercut each other's.
Yeah. It just didn't strike me as something like, I feel like there needed to be something like one more thing. Like it was just like, okay, he just like insulted me.
But maybe this is for like literally he wouldn't tolerate one time.
Yeah, maybe. It just didn't land quite right for me. It felt so strange. And then of course like the king catching him, it's just like so choreographed and like, whoa, he didn't mean anything by it. And I'm like, you didn't even like stop him. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
it just was like a weird, the choreography of like him getting up and getting stopped. And it just felt a little bit sloppy. It didn't quite latch on for me.
I guess like, it's one of those things where it's like watching those, like this very formalized, like the king sits here and they're sitting in lines next to him. It feels very awkward and weird.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that is what they did. And we kind of don't kind of understand that.
Yeah.
Because it feels and looks weird when people are just like sitting all at the same table on one side. It's like so strange.
Yeah. Every meal is the Last Supper.
Yeah. It's so weird. Then I'm like, some of it is just going to look weird to our sensibilities.
Right.
And I think like part of that choreography is that, but I don't know.
Sure.
There is like an awkwardness to it.
Yeah.
But like also like they're used to a different thing.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I'm just thinking more of like the progression of like how he's hot-headed, obviously. They kind of both are. It just didn't strike me as enough to justify getting up.
That's fair.
That's my moment. What about you?
I don't know. I think it was, there's a little bit, I know the king is like a little bit romantic, but just like how, I don't know, he like rescues George and then is like, I'll let you kill the deer. I don't know. There's something like, I'm like, what? Like they have a nice moment. I don't know. It's a little almost like too symbolic for me. Mm-hmm. Like this whole, like, it's very romantic. It's very fairy tale.
Yeah.
He falls, he gets to be this like damsel in distress for the king to save. And the king likes to take care of him and they have a sweet moment. And he's like, no, let the new kid who fell off of a horse, this tough Scottish king. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. It's a little too perfect. It's a little too...
Yeah, which like is part of the whole thing.
Sure.
He is charming him and that's part of the story.
And it seems like that's something that like James kind of falls into himself. Like he's about that. Like he's like a little bit... That pomp is what he likes, as as we mentioned. It's like there is a process, a story that he's fulfilling.
Yeah, it's just like it goes a little fairy tale in that moment for me, and it feels like a little bit mood shifty from the rest of the episode, just slightly.
Yeah, I buy that. Yeah, cool.
It's minimal, but.
Finally, what are we most intrigued about?
Oh, who this mysterious man is who...
Oh, at the end, the mysterious man.
The information and what he's going to do with that information.
Yes. That's one bit. I'm curious to see more of Lady Hatton.
Sure.
Like... feels like we're setting up like a rival here. So I want to see what happens there.
Yeah. Cool.
Mostly because I just want to see more of Lady Hatton.
Yeah, she's great. She's so great.
Yeah. Cool.
Great.
All right.
That's it.
That wraps up episode 2 of Mary and George. Thank you so much for tuning in to 2 Grooms, 1 Plot. Follow us on all of the social medias. Subscribe to our YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to Chicago Podcast Studio. And thanks to our social media maven, Kaylee. And I'm Pavi Proczko. Thanks for tuning in.
Are we doing things?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I'm Pavi Proczko, and remember, don't eat the prunes.
And I'm Colin Funk, and remember, all you have to do is fall off your horse to woo a king.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of 2 Grooms, 1 Plot, a Pavitas Productions project, hosted by Colin Funk and Pavi Proczko. This podcast was produced by Chicago Podcast Studio. Our opening cartoon was created by Gloriu, and our theme song was composed by me, Pavi Proczko. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite listening platform. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at 2 Grooms, 1 Plot for updates on new episodes and behind-the-scenes content. If you have any feedback, comments, concerns, or kudos, you can email us at 2groomsOneplot@gmail.com. Please rate and review us wherever you can. It would help us out a bunch. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.